Congratulations on the film.
Thank you so
It's
much.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
I guess I'll start off. With such a powerful cast, did any of them have any kind of ability coming in, like had done any kind of any music in school, or?
They were all musically inclined and had experience with music, but not necessarily playing. Nobody played, definitely not a string instrument.
God, no.
As you know, Christopher Walken is a dancer, like a real top-notch dancer, including in musicals. So he had that, as I said, dancers, which is really, the music plays on their body, which is even more intuitive that way. So that was, I would love to have coffee if possible.
Coffee? Sure.
Yeah,
Just dark, right?
Dark. So that was for him. And also I learned, the first time we met, he told me that he grew up in Upper West Side, New York, where a classical musician used to reside heavily in the 100th Street area. So all the symphony, philharmonic, all the musicians, that was their home.
Oh, okay.
His best friend was a cellist. So it's all about cello. He's playing, rehearsing, talking. He told me many stories that happened in these homes. So it's all was about classical music. So in that sense, he was really connected to that aspect. Philip Seymour Hoffman, I saw him in. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Let me take care of it. Philip Seymour Hoffman. I saw him on stage performing with a string quartet called the Takash String Quartet. They're based in Colorado, and they're one of the greatest in the world today. And he was reading excerpts from a book by Philip Roth called Everyman. So it was like that evening where they play a piece and he reads, and they play and he reads. And you saw he was in tears. The whole audience were in tears. It was just, and you saw that kind of reaction to the music, seeing them play. Little did we know that. A couple of years later, he's going to see this like a different quartet in front of him playing, and then he will be a musician there. But when I approached him, he said, "This is very dear to me." Meaning, there was some kind of a respect to the work they do. When you have that sort of respect to how much work is getting into being able to produce this music. So that was Philip Seymour Hoffman. Kathleen Keener, her son plays the cello. Her ex-husband is a cellist, an actor
That's
and a
convenient.
cellist. So she said, I missed that music at the time when I met with her for the first time. She missed that, cello music and string music. And also, what I learned later is that she equates every scene with a particular tune.
Wow.
Doesn't, it can be punk or heavy metal or classical music, it doesn't matter. But every scene she equates with a piece on almost every movie. So it's when somebody does that, it means music is really
it's a part of it. You don't gotta teach it at least.
Exactly. And Mark Ivany played the piano for several years, so he was a pianist. And the young girl, Imogen Poots, she played the cello for 5 years. So she was the only one that could translate.
actually.
That was going to be my
Yeah.
question. Is there anyone that
Exactly.
really?
That's why if you see her shots are more, I let her play longer because she knew really how to play. So it was just like let her do it, and so that's what I would say. They were all musical, and music was really sort of playing in their minds, but they're not necessarily beside Imogen. They had the ability to do it, but they were committed to it, and they felt very strongly towards the music and the whole world of classical music.
Yeah, the question I have, for your first film, you have this is a heck of a cast. And I was wondering how was it to control the personality? That we all know Walken has a legendary personality.
Yeah.
Was it really easy, or did it take some time, or was it?
I say it was sort of a double sword thing, which means on one hand, it's so tough because they have, I'm not going to use egos because, the egos are abstract when it comes to working with it. It's more about, they're such great actors. They're so accomplished. They're not, so great for nothing. It's not that they're great because they're great because they are amazing performers. And they're amazing performance not by a chance, because you see Philip Seymour Hoffman, it's like a movie after movie after movie. And Christopher Walken and Kathleen Keener. So it's really about their talent and ability and use of technique. So on that level, it's both challenging, but it also makes it comforting because every take, it's like, wow, right? Yeah. Another one, completely different, but it's like, whoa. And that's an interesting way to look at it, etc. So it was more for me to have sort of a compass of that's
Yeah.
my vision, that's who Robert Mitchell is, but Robert Gilbert is, but he brought his Robert, and then we
Yeah.
found that Robert, and then it was just like, let's do many things until we, you know.
Yeah, 'cause it's kind of a film about personalities and egos colliding. You have,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's been you're part of a quartet. I mean, naturally, you want to have a chance to be on your own. So I wonder,
Yeah.
I imagine if that's shifted over to the cast and their scenes, or they all come as a cohesive group.
Yeah, it's like, I think the tougher moments were they were all together, then they became a quartet, and
Yeah.
quartet have no conductor, so it's like, you
It's
know,
just them. Yeah.
it's us, you know. So that was like the hardest, and then I had to direct it sort of from the outside in to find ways to influence the scene because they were like so wild into that feeling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, the director, you know, it's like you say it, you're into the actions and you're into the cuts, you're into
You're
arranging
feeding
the
off of their
things and you feel it,
actions,
and you decide eventually how to use it and when do you stop
Yeah.
filming and where do you place the camera and which character. So you have a world to work with. So you always at any given moment can control the situation just enough so that it's a vision of a particular movie rather than
Yeah.
people do whatever.
Faith
they
with
want.
your story and your
Yeah,
characters.
that's when it was tough. Otherwise, it was just a pure pleasure to see them
Yeah.
acting. They're
It
so
had to
great,
be.
and they're also, at least 3 of them are prolific theater actors.
Yeah.
Walken is an amazing stage actor. Philip Seymour Hoffman is a theater director and actor, and Mark Ivanier is a theater actor. So you see it in action. They're like
Yeah.
acting, not for camera, but like they're
They're
really
really
there.
comfortable on a stage.
Yeah.
This
And
is-
challenging each other all
Yeah.
the time. It's like, come on, man, give me more. What is that? I want to see more.
Yeah, I mean, you
It's
see
like,
that's more lost today. You know, where actors they almost don't even
Yeah.
want to go on Broadway or
Yeah.
go on a stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so used
You know,
to
they
the
want to
closed
fast
up.
track it to the big screen.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but they're so closed. They're so used to that closed off set. Their
Yeah.
publicists and their people around them.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't want to get exposed on a stage. You
Yeah.
get exposed.
You get
and it's
exposed,
basically
yes.
you and your ability. That had to be great to have a
Yeah.
character actors who had that history. Sorry, I'm talking.
so I let them,
Yes,
yeah.
go.
So I let them explore it, and I encouraged that as much as I could
Yeah.
because I think it would be not smart for a director, in this case it was me, to work with such incredible talent and not let them, you know,
Yeah.
give everything they can.
And that was going to be my question, like with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Once he goes, did you find yourself, you didn't draw him back? It didn't seem to me at all.
No
And
drawing back.
You let him
never.
go.
Of course. You want to see where it's going, and
Let the horses run.
it's like you just want to see it, you know. And then again, you know, the beauty about, as opposed to theater, you have many takes, so you can see this and you can see that, and that's maybe like, you know, it went too far, and that one was too timid, so you get until, you know, that's the beauty of it. It's like you always rehearse in a way while filming because you have all these trials and exploration, and you get something unique each time. So that's what it was. Sometimes when you direct the experiences, because I work with many actors even on this film, it's sometimes it's about you wait until you have good performance, right? You do this and then and then okay, we got it. That's not the case with these actors. It's like you got it, and you got it, and you got it, but it's like this one and that one, and you know, so it's just.
The thing I really liked about the film is this quartet family unit, the fragility of the group. I mean, one illness, and then it just fractures
Yes.
for most, you know, part of the film, and just seeing them trying to put it back together was captivating.
Thank you. So I'll just comment 2 things. One inspiration for the movie was Shakespeare's King Lear. King Lear, again, you have the king, and the king sort of decides to retire in that case. He feels he had enough of this kingdom, and then he lets his 3 daughters run the show. He's like, you know, takes the map physically, and he's
It's
just
right.
like, exactly. And then the husband comes in, and then problems arise, and eventually he dies miserable, mad, because he sees what they've done. They took the kingdom, they ruined it, and they turn against him. So that's Shakespeare, and Shakespeare usually taps on, you know, the real stuff. So that's and I use also the map, by the way, as a visual thing. You see in Peter's apartment, there's a map. The map is the King Lear map of that. So he also says, I got Parkinson's, and I want you to continue, and it's the most important for you to continue, and let's see how we can make it continue, and then things go wrong. So that's one thing. And also in my family, my father figure with my stepfather also got a brain stroke, and it just sends the whole family into craziness, because in life we see in everything there's no vacuum, so to speak, right? One element goes out of structure, everybody gets rearranged.
It's a domino effect.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's always like that. So I try to sort of contemplate on that dynamic as part of the...
It was well done.
Yeah, but listening to in interviews with Catherine Keener and Alkin, she says that he's kind of the dad of the group. So when he says that he's kind of going off the rest of the group, all of a sudden I guess see their roles kind of start to change.
Yeah, and especially Christopher Walken. I mean, imagine he says,
Imagine
I was like, what? How are we going to continue, right? This is going to be a different thing
This
now.
got to be horrible. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, like, I never had a chance to see Watermarks, but I hope to find it on Amazon or something and watch it. But that seems more self-financed, self-created. Do you what do you enjoy more, that sort of thing, or something that has this mass appeal?
In many ways, it's more. There are many similarities. More than it's true that this one will get exposure for various reasons, but it's the same kind of thing, because with the documentary, two leading TV stations, Arte in Europe, which is the leading art network, and HBO in the US, sort of co-produced it. So and here I had RKO, which was sort of a Hollywood production company that financed, a majority of this. So I had more or less the same experience in that sense, and it's also about group. The story has many similarities. So in that way, it was the same. In terms of the difference is to work with these great actors, and you create the world. You develop a world, which was for me the most challenging thing. You can't take anything for granted. Like if we document what happens here, you put a camera, and this set was designed by people, but here you need to every sort of the color on the wall has a meaning, right? Is it red? Is it green? Is it white? What do we do? Why? Everything had a thought process behind it.
Like you said.
So that makes it like the order of magnitude of complexity is endless. But there are things like it was also an intimate movie. That one was intimate. This one is intimate. There's the relationship between people. They do these were swimmers in a club. These are musicians in a quartet. There's also all these elements that kept it, the same, so to speak. I felt I'm just exploring another world within the context of that subject matter in a way. They were 80-plus-year-old. These are like, the 45-ish. There's one guy approaching 70. So that was different. There were only women. Here I had, 3 men and 2 women. But it was sort of the same feeling. And also, luckily, like Philip Seymour Hoffman saw the movie and really responded to that. He really liked the characters. So it all felt that we are continuing the same thing, which is a character-driven piece about strong people going through a crisis, and what do they do with that?
Yeah. Like you said, there's like symbolism, King Lear and Shakespeare that you have to think about, place it.
Yeah, and it's all over the place because the film is sort of set in a cultural world that has, the tradition is very important for that world, but not tradition in the sense of being sort of old or boring or confining or conservative, but rather tradition in the sense of taking great things from the old masters that already went through that path, and they take as much as they can out of it and bring it to contemporary life. And so I think that's part of it, and I wanted in the movie to do the same, meaning, we have this scene at the Frick Collection with Rembrandt and Memling and all these great master painters, because it is in New York City right now, and you can go and buy a ticket and watch these paintings, and they have something to say about our life right now, this moment. And so I want to take all this quality that accumulated by people like us that worked just a couple of 100 years ago, but it's not that far if you look at the history of mankind, and to use that. Now, I don't know how it's related to what you said. It's related to the sense that it's all, referential that way.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
Thanks.
I've always thought some of the greater films are the films that kind of teach you something. As I know, playing every writer and every director,
Yeah.
you guys are trying to tell the audience something, inform us about, even like in this case, the human frailty of, when it comes to egos and things changing. We were supposed to walk away with something. I did. I mean, it was I walked away with an appreciation for the music. I had never really got into the music before until you're actually thrust into a movie. It's a whole soundtrack is that music, and it was. Even without words, music, I mean, it's a very powerful soundtrack. I loved it.
So yeah, also the music is to show that let's take the seventh movement for a moment. It's really like rock and roll. I mean, it's
Moves the same
dum,
way.
da-da-dum, 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 da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. It's like you're riding a horse.
Yeah.
So we think about it, classical music, da-da-da, but this is like, it's happening. It's now. It's exciting. It's moving.
It takes
it's
the place.
emotional. It's got everything that we like about what we do and what we think.
Yeah.
So it's part of it, yes.
Personally, I mean, I like all kind. I mean, good music is good music, no matter what kind of genre you come from. I mean, if you have good classical music, it's going to be good. It's going to entertain you. You're going to like it.
Exactly.
And this Beethoven's incredible. He was a rock star before his
He
time.
was a rock star, exactly.
How long did production last?
The shooting itself?
Yeah.
It's 27 days.
Wow.
25, it was very
That's called a
intense.
tight schedule. Good actors, I mean.
25, and then we completed with 2 more days.
That was good
the following
directing.
winter.
That's less than a month. I mean, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was really, really intense.
quick
Really
turn.
intense.
Yeah. One of the things I've always
It will not happen again.
Are you sure?
For sure.
Well, at least, at least you can say you filmed the one film
40,
with this
50 days,
cast.
that's it. That's the cast. No way.
Yeah,
no
but
way.
one of the
It's
things
the
I-
only thing that I would like, if they would have given me $100 million to make this movie, so to speak, it's the only thing that I want is several more days. That's it. I don't need anything more than that. The actors are the best. Everybody on the team, director, photography, the whole thing is like just more days, so that you don't like.
Well, sometimes if you get rushed, the creativity just gets zapped, and you just get. It's like getting pushed through a stage. Like I want to go back to that scene,
Yeah, there are moments where you take something with one shot because luckily they're so amazing that you can
Like
get
one
away
or
with
two
it.
takes. Because you know what Clint Eastwood does. He tells them, well, we're doing an audition for a take, and he goes, that's good enough. We'll keep that. We're going.
The question I have is, as
That's
a
Clint
director,
Eastwood. For me, they said when I said this is great, it's amazing. Let's move on. Say, we want another one. I said, dude, this is amazing. I know, but I want to give you another one.
We'll do it, yeah.
That's what they did.
well, I thought the film was, of course, exactly amazing, but I am drawn to that type of music. I mean, I go and sit at the symphony by myself if my family doesn't want to join me. So, of course, I was enthralled from the trailer on it. But bottom line is, as a director, are there scenes that you directed that you felt were your masterpiece scenes in the movie?
I can't say that, unfortunately. I don't.
Not yet, I guess.
Every scene is a world of emotions, and have to do by now, not just by looking at it, by making it. So it's you have, you know what I'm saying. When I look at the scene now, maybe it's unfortunate, but I see the whole emotion, like, and in a way, what ends up in the movie is just like the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is what happened emotionally, because they really get into the character, and then they go, you have to pick them up sometimes from the floor. They're so emotionally, or that they get, I'm trying to use, to tell as little as I can about the method that they're going through, but what you see is due to a process where they're really being there. They're not acting emotions, they are feeling these emotions, and they bring from their life and where they are at that moment. So that's what happens to me almost every scene. I'm like, oh, here she broke down. Oh, here the guy was like in tears for real. When Christopher Walken cries when he sees his wife, late wife, Miriam, singing that song, she's there singing, and I'm filming him watching her singing, and she's so amazing. It's played by Sophie von Otter, who is one of the great mezzo-soprano today, and she was on the way to, she's like booked 3 years, you can't talk to this woman. But luckily, 2 days before, she had a concert at Carnegie Hall, which was 20 blocks away from our shoot, so she said, all right, I'm going to do this scene, and the day after I'm going to, do the rehearsal and then be at Carnegie Hall. So she arrives and she does that. And he said, I just looked at her hands, starting to perform, and he said, I cry immediately. It's like, so you want to create such a situation where the emotions are the real response to what's happening. Not like saying, oh, I need to cry here. Or remind yourself, oh, this is my wife actually. This is my wife. No, it's like, I'm in the moment, I hear this woman, I love her as she is, and this is moving, and I'm like crying because of that.
Well, and you really feel the frailty of every character in this movie. You really did a phenomenal
Well, it's almost
job.
like the greatness about this kind of
But I'll
music.
say one thing, sorry, not about the scene, but in general,
Mm-hmm.
that a revelation was for me that when I saw Mark Ivanier, Daniel Lerner, that character, which I thought, I had naturally, he can be a pain, this guy, but I felt for him when she breaks up with him. I'm like, really, really, really was hurt for him. I felt so, his sadness. So that was something that was unexpected, how much emotion he managed to.
And that's a very
bring.
short scene in the movie.
It's
Yeah.
but you see that he's locked within his character in a way. It's a person that has personality, that he's locked into it and he can't get out of it. I mean, maybe he wished he would be somebody else, but he's that. And that's why he's vulnerable to, once he exposes himself, he's being hit for a reason. So, maybe it says something about something, but that scene was a revelation that way. But otherwise, it's all incredible. I mean, when Philip Seymour Hoffman shouts on stage, you're like, well, he's talking to me. When Christopher Walken says, shame on you, he's talking,
Oh my God.
It's like, oh, what did I do wrong? I'm going back to all my life, and
no.
I'm saying, it's like, shame on you. It's like, shame on everybody who has done anything wrong in his life, which is everybody. So, they're very intense that way. They talk to you directly.
I myself really felt myself drawn into the hierarchy of the four of them. Philip Seymour Hoffman wanting to be that number one.
Yeah.
And, having to play content
Yeah.
It's the ego,
for, as the number two
Yeah.
chair. And
Yeah.
he thought he had an opportunity and, was that going to totally destroy the music and the passion and what they all had together?
I almost think, when he tries to be number one, it's almost like he's almost afraid to get off that 4-chair set, because if you get off the set, their boat starts to rock. Or, do I really want to do this? But but how long can you keep your own ambition wrapped up in a group? But I found that great. The one thing I really wanted to ask you was, I'm always interested in the script. How much is actually kept and how much is improvised? The dialogue was so good in this movie. I almost want to think like some of it was improvised, or was it even improvised, or was it all the script?
Yeah, some of it is improvised. The script was very detailed in terms of dialogue, so
had to be.
we didn't change any plot or anything.
Yeah.
The scene is the scene. What you see was on the
Exactly.
page. But in terms of talking, whenever they felt they want to change words or that, I was with them. There's no point for me to tell Christopher
To step into their-
Walken how to talk Peter Mitchell. It's ridiculous. If he wants to say, and he has his own way of talking, so you just have to go with that.
That's
Because
great.
if he feels at home, right, the way he talks, that we'll feel that.
Yeah,
way.
but this is one of those scripts I don't think wastes any lines. There's some scripts where they just meander, but this script was so tight, and I felt like you just want to keep watching these characters talk and talk and talk. And
The script.
That's their
The
music.
script and the dialogue. It's like the music.
Yeah, it is.
It flows and
It tells its own story.
Tells its own story.
Yeah, and a lot of times, silver screenplays, they really have to struggle to do that. They spend 2/3 of the running time trying to tell one story when this script just keeps going. And it's like layers of building on top of the characters and everything, and you're right along with them. You don't feel like you're watching a movie. You feel like you're watching people, and that was great.
That's also I think the acting that I tried as a director to let these great actors, in a way, build their own space, so to speak. So they won't be too stylized. If You know what I mean? So I'm not using like the amazing directors will do stuff like, you know, the face. I want you now to say this word when the face goes like that. You know, you really try to direct their body language. I try to avoid that altogether. Just let them go, capture that, because that is so great, and it's going to get a feel of some rawness, and that rawness is life. So when you say, it's like, you know, I wanted you to think, or to feel, not to think, to feel what I feel, that Philip Seymour Hoffman brought Philip Seymour Hoffman. And it's his fight to be what he deserves to be, which is like a huge film star. Because he's so great, right?
Well, I always imagine him, you know, he's the guy that's been a supporting guy his whole life, so he wants to be the lead.
And he deserves it.
You know, there's people that tells us there's tons of people like that in real life that are part of a system, but, you know, I want to be the lead just for one time.
Exactly.
And sometimes they stay quiet their whole lives, you know?
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
But yeah, I imagine, like you said, just let them go with their own characters. Don't go, I don't want you to do that. I can't imagine doing that.
No. Or just like turn now because the light comes from here. No, just do it.
Just follow the camera.
Well, exactly. We're gonna be fine. We know what to do with that later on.
And then you have the proud papa scene at the end with walking and sitting next to Potts, watching it and knowing that the quartet is going to live on.
Yeah. I mean, that's
now the girl that came in and replaced him. She looked like she knew she was a
she's a cellist. She's a real
cellist.
cellist.
Yeah, she was
the real deal. Yeah.
So she was moving it and into
I was gonna say, you know how I knew she was a real deal?
Yeah.
Her head tilt, because they literally are like in.
It's true. More dimensions.
I was gonna say,
they're
they're part of they're part of their instrument when
yes.
they're.
Some people think that she's overacting, but she's doing the real thing.
Right.
That's amazing.
No.
So when somebody does the real thing, you feel like, oh, maybe it's too much.
And I'm sure if you would have told her, okay, we gotta not, but no, I mean, that was my first cue that she was an actual.
So she's a cellist of the Brentano string quartet provided. She provided the music for the movie, the Brentano. So she's the cellist of that group, and I used her. And her name is Nina Lee. And Nina Lee, it's her name in the film. So I just like use that to some kind of a.
It's easy.
Well, that's the greatness of this music.
Yeah, cool. It's more for the.
I'm trying to do that. I can't take the moving shot.
I can't.
But no, that's why. Well, that's why the greatness of music, as you said. I mean, I'm open to all kinds of music, and I hadn't really listened to a lot of music. But then again, that's the greatness. You can you all of a sudden get the appreciation. So you're almost being born along with the story, but you're listening to this music, and it's telling a story without vocals. That's the power of instrumental music. It can just tell a story with one instrument. They can just say it. But that got me hooked in this movie. I'm going to have to go watch it again. Just again, I'm going to keep the screen. I don't want. Don't. It doesn't expire, does it?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Tonight at 11:59.
Okay. Oh gosh, I'm going.
I'm hoping we'll get one for award season. We get a screen in the mail.
Yeah. So they can keep
mine. Now that you've done this with this all-star crew, what do you want to do next? What is next?
Exact question.
Wow. The thing is, we're talking about it, is that, you know, I'm writing right now, but I can drop it in like 3 months, because once you start to work on it, you got to, you know, a project like this can take years. So you have to make sure that it's worth the years, and then that it's worth, you know, to share with the world, so to speak. So I'm not ready to talk about that.
You're not ready to move on yet.
No. I'm ready to move on. I'm not
but just not ready to talk
I'm not
about
ready
writing.
To announce it.
Oh, okay. So we're all going to have to sit on the edge of our seat.
I'm totally ready. But I'm writing it's a fiction movie, and I'm writing it, and it happens in America.
Okay.
And totally
A lot, huh?
Keep us on our toes. That's the best way to do it.
We can exclude you from Star Wars 7. Okay.
No. I decided not to follow that path. No. So many directors, like you get initially Star Wars 500 and Scream 20. No. I'm writing it, and it's going to be another sort of.
I'm looking the most forward to the next, just the writing of the next movie, because this one was so good. I mean, it was like I was watching, you know, it's like I was sitting there with the characters just like this, That's how close you felt
You're
to
in
the
the audience.
characters. Yeah, you're just right there with them, and you're
lounge.
seeing his mind go. Should I do this? Should I do that? And you're almost like right there with him. That was just there's few movies can do that and just captivate you like that. But
Yeah, I just want to mention one word about that. Is that when the director of photography and we started to talk about how we're going to film this. So there were lots of discussion about many things, but one of the things that I really wanted was that just like we sit here, the five of us now, so it's about a string quartet, 4 people.
Exactly.
I wanted the camera to be that's the distance, so that you are within
intimate. I mean,
the quartet. So I said it's as if we're replacing. We take out the now and put the camera talking, and then if you talk to us, that's when the camera needs to be, instead of being there and just watching us as a group. So you can see, rarely you'll see a sort of flashy shot from above where you see them. No, the only shot from above them playing you see is when Christopher Walken character Peter Mitchell is at the balcony with Imogen Poots. He's looking down at them. The camera would look at them. So it's always will be initiate from the look of the person, and that's what keeps it sort of, it's not a director looking at them, but rather
That's what makes it so intimate, I think.
it's together, and it gives some kind of a feeling. It's supposed to be subconscious, of course.
and I imagine part of that is just trusting your actors. I mean, because sometimes the director will want to go with a wider shot because they don't know if they want to have the audience get that close to the actors. But in this scene, you just kind of let them go, and it's just do their part, and then that's a strength of the whole movie right there. It's the intimacy. Good.
Cool.
Well, good luck tonight at the
Thank
the
you so
premiere.
much. Thank you.
It's a great theater, Tivoli
Yes,
Theater.
beautiful.
The film festival itself is amazing. We hope that when you want to give us some details and you get the next project, hopefully you bring it back to St. Louis.
I will.
And
Sure.
have it again at the film festival.
For sure. I heard
It
there
was
are
a
like
perfect
great,
showcase for the movie.
great movies in this one,
It's in the
right?
High Point.
Oh, it's at the High Point?
right here.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that works too.
Yeah.
Brian's good people too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's- yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Pleasure.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed the film a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I think yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great movie.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Brad. I think I just rushed in.
Yeah. All right.
Just came through
Brad.
traffic. Yeah, it was nice.
Thank you.
Do you know Seth from like a long time ago, or did you just
Yes,
recently meet him?
Seth wrote and directed a movie with